Welcome again to the S.E.M podcast. Jack Bryce and Zach Hewlett here again, and today we're joined by our friend Clay Stevens. Clay, it's so good to have you. What part of the world are you calling from tonight?
I'm from a little town in Idaho called Paul, and I'm actually in my son's bedroom because he's got the best Wi-Fi. So thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Now, repeat where you were from, because I don't think I've ever heard of that place in Idaho before.
So the town I'm in now is Paul, Idaho. When I was a missionary, I was in Wickiup, Arizona, probably another town that you've never heard of.
Okay.
I've heard of Wickiup because I'm from a
Oh,
tiny
wow.
Arizona town as well. But
We're at in Arizona.
I'm from the Gila Valley, from Pima.
Okay, right on.
Paul, Idaho. Well, good. Well, Clay, we're really excited to have you again. We've discussed before this. You've been listening to the podcast, so start us off with your story about how you ended up with mission call to Scotland.
Okay. Yeah, it was. I was the person that always knew I should go on a mission, but maybe not the person that always wanted to go. And I ended up going up to Rick's College when it was still Rick's for my first year of college. And I had and I should say, growing up in Wickiup, like the last missionary that was from Wickiup that left Wickiup was my mom. So I didn't know a lot of return missionaries. We didn't have missionaries in our branch. There wasn't a lot I just didn't have a lot of experience with missionaries. And so then I got up to college, and I can't remember if it was the first semester or the second semester, that first elders quorum, they had everybody stand up, introduce yourself, get on a mission, where you serve, that kind of deal. And everybody started, I've been this country or that country or this state, or it's like, man, that's cool. That sounds cool. And just started getting more and more excited about it, and thinking more serious about it. I always planned to go, but like I said, I didn't always want to. And my attitude definitely changed while I was there at college, just being around all these return missionaries, and put my papers in. And I did, I still do wildland fire. And so I was actually up in Montana on a fire assignment when the call came. I tried to check in every week or so with my parents. I was on a payphone. I called my mom. She's like, your mission call came. You want me to open it? It's like, yeah, open it. And so she said, you're going to Scotland. Man, where the heck is Scotland? I think I've heard of that place. And you knew my mom. She's like, let me get a map. So she ran and got her atlas. And because I was in my head, I was picturing it for Sweden, Finland, Norway, that area. I was picturing Sweden. She's like, it's hooked to England. Oh, okay. I think I know where that is. And so, yeah, that's how the mission call came. Got back from Montana, got ready, and had to get a patriarchal blessing, had to go through the temple, get all that stuff done there in just a short amount of time. And then, off I went, boarded a plane in Kingman, and took off.
All right. You're probably going to get into this in our next segment, but I have to understand how you got into wildland fire patrol, I guess, or help with that, because if you've been doing it for such a long time, that's a unique job that I'm sure many of us have never thought of. So tell us more about that, Clay.
So yeah, I was I'd always, small town, there wasn't a lot of stuff going on, and so I'd always lived in that area. Well, I was born in Australia, and my parents just happened to be living over there, and then lived in Wickiup all my life that I could remember. Worked on ranches and things when I was a teenager, and then went off to college, came back. I needed a job to try to pay for a mission because I wanted to be able to pay for that. And my brother had done wildland fire to pay for college when he was younger. And so I applied, got that job. And then I just did that all summer, saved up all the money. And that's what I used to pay for a mission, was all the fire money. So, and for a kid from a small town in Arizona that hadn't really been anywhere, I mean, it was just this great adventure, right? You're chasing fire around the state, and then once Arizona kind of got rained out with the monsoons, we started chasing fire north, spent, almost 2 months in Montana flying around in helicopters, and just, it was just a ball. It's just a big adventure for a 18 coming 19-year-old kid. So it was a lot of fun.
Well, I have to say, your receiving of knowing where you were going on your mission is easily the most unique we've heard. As far as most people, it's like, I had the paper in hand and couldn't wait to tear it open before everybody else. But a payphone in Montana, like that's definitely unique. and I'm glad that you shared that with us. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's a good.
I was going to say, timeline wise, so when did you start your mission, and around about when did you finish your mission?
So I went out, and I know people have mentioned this before, but I went out the end of September, and it was 4-week transfers at the time. And then by the time I came home, it was 6-week transfers. So I came home. No, I said that backwards. I went out the beginning of October, and I came home the end of September, from 99 to 2001.
99, 2001. Awesome. All right. Before we go through and reminisce on the mission, take us to September 2001. You come home. Tell us about your life since returning from Scotland.
So yeah, flew back into Kingman. My parents picked me up at the airport, and they ran straight into, I guess it was High Council night. We ran straight in and reported that night. Had me take off my badge. I still remember that. It's kind of a weird thing. They're like, all right, you're not a missionary anymore. And I took it off and I slid it in my pocket. I was like, man, I feel different. I got back in the car after we left, and I took it out. It was dark. It was at night, and I put it on. I didn't feel any better. You know, I knew the mission was like over. It was kind of crazy. But after that, I went right to work for my branch president. He had a concrete business, and this was the end of September. And so I had just a few months, because I was set to go back to BYU, Idaho now in January. So I had just a few months to try to get some money together for tuition and housing and all that stuff. So I worked for him, and then went back to college and kept doing the fire thing in the summer. I ended up meeting my wife at college. We both worked at campus police when we were there. She took off on a mission to the Dominican Republic. I couldn't, I didn't want to talk her out of it, but if she'd have gave me a chance, I'd probably tried. But she went on a mission there, and then I finished school up, still doing the fire thing. I got a full-time job after I finished school in fire, just a permanent position with the BLM, Bureau of Land Management's wildland fire. And then she got home, and I convinced her that I needed to marry her. I think the timing was actually good, because if she'd have been home long enough to find more options, she probably could have done better. But I was able to talk her into me being the best option after being, on a mission for a while. And yeah, we moved down to Arizona. I drug her down there. We had 3 kids, 2 boys and a girl, all there in Arizona. We were there for, I think, about 8 years. We spent a few years in Nevada, and then been about the last 10 here in Idaho. So that's been kind of us post mission.
That's awesome. How old are your children now?
It's 19, 17, 15. The 2 boys, and then my daughter. The one thing I guess I did leave out that was kind of cool. I've only ever gone to one mission reunion since I've been home. That's wild. Before I was married, I was still up at college, and they had one in Salt Lake, and I went down there, and President Wilkinson was there, and he was giving his update that he had been made a sealer for the St. George Temple. I was like, oh, that's cool. And we were talking about getting married, because her family was in Idaho. Mine was in Arizona. I was like, well, my mission president's a sealer. What do you think about getting married in St. George? And she's like, sure. So I called him up. That's probably the last time I talked to President Wilkinson. I was like, hey, I'm getting married. Oh, congratulations. I said, I'd like you to do it. He's like, well, I can only do it in St. George Temple. I'm like, well, yeah, we'll come to St. George. He's like, perfect. So President Wilkinson is the one that sealed us together there. He did a good job, because it's over 20 years now and still working. So he must have done something right there.
That's actually really unique. Really unique. That's cool. Awesome. Well, Clyde, thank you for sharing all that. Take us now back to the beginning of your mission, October 1999, and let's go through areas, companions, and memories that you have of your mission that was a few years ago.
Okay. No, I'll do my best. It's been a busy few weeks, and I was cramming in today, trying to go through all my journals, which I apparently was not very good at writing, and I'm reading names that I don't remember who they are. So I'll do my best to kind of capture some of this stuff. But yeah, I arrived there at Preston. As I recall, we were the first full capacity or max capacity group to hit the MTC. It was brand new that year, and they'd had smaller groups come through, but I think we were about 110, as I recall, and that was the max capacity group. And it was a super fun time to be there, because I know it changed, or at least I heard it changed afterwards, because we had all these different chefs there. They were trying to figure out what the menu needed to look like. And so just so many options for every mealtime, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. There's just way more food than I was used to seeing and eating, which was kind of cool. The teachers were amazing. My companion was from Germany, Elder Ritter. And we're like, I'd never been. I mean, my dad was in World War II, and so the stories I had about Germany and the ideas probably weren't the best, right? And this guy was awesome, and he was not physically active at all, but he was built like Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's like the only sit up he's ever done in his life is to get out of bed. And are they all like you? He was a lot of fun. I liked Elder Ritter. And we had a couple other missionaries from France that barely spoke English, and they'd learned their English from watching American movies. And so a lot of the movies they'd seen, when people get excited or something happens, it's usually not a good word that comes out. So we're constantly like, elders, you can't say that. That's another bad word. And they just didn't know. They were constantly dropping swear words anytime something would happen in class, something exciting would happen, and they would yell a swear word. And like, no, you can't say that one either. And so it was just the MTC for me was just a ball. I had such a good time there, and the spirit was so strong. I know somebody, I can't remember who, one of the people I listened to on your podcast mentioned President White, how all his stories ended up in the elders fornicated and then they got sent home, right? It was always some bad thing that ended up and missionaries get sent home. And so I was scared to death that, like, man, I got to be careful. I'm going to get sent home. But it was a lot of fun, just a lot of shenanigans, people wrestling in the hallways, all the stuff that everybody does in the MTC. But it was such a spiritual time in my life. I really felt my testimony grow there. Had to get a lot of questions answered, right? Try to figure things out, because you think things are one way and you show up and it's different. And I remember right before I'd come out, my dad had been diagnosed with cancer, right? And one of the last things he said to me was, if I die, I don't want you coming home, just finish your mission. And so that was on my mind, and probably too much, right? I'm trying to focus on a mission, but thinking about that. And I remember reading in the Doctrine and Covenants, they give us this series of sections to read to try to, mission calls to other people in church history. And one was to Thomas B. Marsh, and it said, you need to go serve your mission. You'll have sheaves laid upon your back, and all these things, these great things that were going to happen to him. And the last line in there seems kind of weird, but it says, and your family shall live. And when I read that, I was like, the spirit hit me super strong. I knew my dad was going to be all right. Kind of put my mind at ease about that. I was still a space case worrying about other things, but it was just a neat experience for me. And he did, obviously he was just fine.
Wow.
Just fine. He ended up dying of cancer, but it was after I got home.
Sure.
But it was just a tender mercy for me from the Lord. And the MTC was just full of that, right? It was just a bunch of 19, 20, 21, 22-year-olds trying to figure things out together and learn the gospel, and just a little whirlwind before you're going to get dropped off in some place you've never been and try and share that gospel with others. So a lot of fun. I really enjoyed the MTC. Good people there, good memories.
Nice. So tell us where you started off as a greenie in Scotland.
Okay, so yeah, when came time to leave the MTC, I don't remember how we got there, but they kick you off at the train station somehow. And you talked about more memories coming back as you're talking. We had a PT in the morning, so they hadn't quite figured out the PT program. And we would eat all this food, and then we'd go run, and people are puking there on the temple ground. I mean, it just, but just these random things would happen as they were trying to figure out what to do with 110 missionaries. But yeah, I got on the train, and just a beautiful train ride going from Preston up there to Edinburgh, and it follows, at least parts of it, as I recall, follows the coast along, so you can see the ocean. And I mean, landlocked Arizona kid, I didn't never seen the ocean, so it was pretty neat, just these cliffs and ocean. And rolled into Edinburgh, and they, as I recall, they met you there, took you to the mission home. You ended up staying the night. That first night was at a bed and breakfast, but that first evening before dinner, they had missionaries there that you'd go out with, kind of just on splits with, and do some tracting and chapping, knocking on doors, right? And that was kind of the first time I was introduced to people that didn't believe in God. It just blew my mind. Like, I grew up not very many members of the church, right? But everybody was kind of a Christian, believed in God type mindset. And I remember knocking on a door, and the elder I was with did the approach, and the lady was like, I don't even believe in God. And I was like, What? There's people like that? I didn't know that was a thing. It's just this huge eye-opening experience. And then we stayed in this little bed and breakfast. Elder Grostrep, I want to say he was from Denmark. I think it was Denmark. But anyway, at the time, I don't know if it's still the same. Everybody, once you hit 18, you join the military for 2 years, and they kind of give you all your military training. And then if they ever need you, they just call you back later. And so he was straight out of the military, just in fighting shape. And so he was just always doing push-ups, and he was kind of fun to be around. Just this hyper Danish guy. And I never did serve around him after that, but for the MTC and staying that night with him, he was just fun. Then the next day, kind of same experience that other people were talking about. You go to the mission home, and you meet with President Sister Clyde. So I just left the MTC, where I was scared that every missionary is going to do something bad and get sent home. And then you roll into President Clyde. He takes you up there into as I recall, it was like the second story, and they got the mission crest, and they had a little chalkboard there. And he draws his box on. I'm sure he did this to everybody, but draws the big box and the small box and this other little thing that looks like an airplane up on the chalkboard. And he's like, "All right, elders, sisters, you're here. I put you in this big box. If you make good choices, you stay in this big box. If you start making bad choices, I'm going to put you in this smaller box, and you're not going to have as much freedom to do things. And if you keep making bad choices, I'm going to stick you on this airplane and send you home. I'm not dealing with any crap." Like, oh my gosh, I'm sent home. And hearing some of the stories from my trainer and other missionaries of what it was like when he took over, I think there was probably a reason that he came to that. Sounds like a pretty rowdy place there for a little while. But I got my first.
We heard that too.
Yeah, pretty crazy. But my first companion was Elder Dustin. They announced that, and that I was going to Dunfermline. So this is all exciting, right? I turn around, meet this guy, and away we go to Dunfermline, which is just across the Firth there, close to Edinburgh, just across the water to the north. And we was in a flat. There's four missionaries in the flat. Elder Kessler was the zone leader. It was the zone leader flat, and Elder Newton. And I was with Elder Dustin for almost 6 months there, and then Elder McPhee for just a transfer 6 weeks. So I spent the first 7.5 months in Dunfermline. It was an awesome place. It was a lot of fun. A lot of shenanigans, and I don't know if I just had a better memory because I was new. Like looking through the journals, like I can remember more of the stories there than stuff I read about other places. I'm like, I don't even remember that at all. But some of the funnier things that happened in Dunfermline that I can remember anyway. We had in the flat, they had a bathroom that was like, I don't know if it was for handicap or old people or what it was for, but the whole bathroom floor drained to a central drain, and there was just a kind of a shower curtain in the corner that you could go in and shower. There was no tub to step up into or anything, but the master water control was on the outside of the door. You guys know where this is going. And so anytime somebody new was coming over to the flat, you just leave the shower curtain open. You would turn the water off. You would aim the shower head towards the toilet, and then turn the shower on and wait for them to go in, give them about 45 seconds. And then you just, whoop, they're stuck. They got nowhere to go, right? They're just sitting there getting sprayed and having to take it. So that was a highlight. I mean, it happened to me as part of just moving in there, and I got to enjoy doing that to several other people. Good times. It's super good families. The ward was really strong there when I was there. The ward mission leader, and I'm terrible with names. I think is Ali Watt. Did either of you serve in Burma?
I was there for 6 months.
Yeah. Oh, perfect. So like Donaghy's, were they? Do you remember that name at all?
Familiar, but I don't remember them as well. Again, similar to you, I'm sure it was split into 2 areas, and I was more like Cowdenbeath, Kelty, like the northern part of town, and then the other elders had the southern part of Dunfermline. So
were you in a car area?
I was, yeah.
Okay, so yeah, that's probably the same as it was. The zone leader area had the car, and I don't know where they went, but good people. Elder Paul Williams. I got to tell a story on him just because you had him on here. Super good elder. I really love Paul. He, as everybody heard that listened to his podcast, his story is just phenomenal. How he came out on a mission, joined the church and came out. But he, one night when the elder, so the new zone leader, Elder Rogers, and he had mentioned Elder Rogers from Wyoming. And so Elder Rogers one day had bought these Scotch bonnet peppers. And I'm not a hot pepper guy like at all, but especially at 19, I would never turn down a dare. And so he said that he wanted us all to eat these peppers together one night. And so we all agreed to do it. And then at the last second, Elder Williams backed out, and the three of us ate them. And he was obviously the smart one because they were so hot, like just burn your mouth out, make your guts hurt. And then of course the next day was terrible. And but we shamed him. And finally he agreed. He's like, fine, I'll do it tonight. And so I talked to my companion, and we went out and went to the store, and we bought another one of these peppers. And we came in the middle of the day. I cut that pepper open. I took the seeds out and I mashed them into a little fine paste, and I shoved them down into his toothpaste tube. And then I took his toothbrush and I just scrubbed out the inside of that. I mean, this is terrible. I scrubbed out the inside of that pepper. And so he gets home and he's like, where's the stupid pepper? And so Elder Rogers gives him the pepper. He eats it and he's on fire. The British palate is not used to anything spicy at all. And he's like, oh, my mouth is on fire. And I was like, go brush your teeth. It'll help.
Oh
my gosh,
man.
that guy was just straight misery for hours. I felt a little bad, but it was just too funny. And then we all went to bed, and he couldn't sleep because his mouth is burning. And then somewhere in the middle of the night, he comes in with a bucket of water and he dumps it on me, and I wake up and he's over me with his belt, just whipping me in my bed. And I couldn't do it. Half of poor Elder Williams. It was a good time though. A lot of shenanigans.
That's too funny.
Wow.
Yeah, poor guy. I laugh. I do feel a little bit sorry I did that to him, but it was funny. He was a good elder. Just thinking of Dunfermline, it's Arizona, as you know, sunny all the time. I rolled in to Dunfermline, and it was President White had told us the way to tell the weather in Scotland is you look out the window, and if it's raining, that means it's raining all day. And if it's not raining in the morning, it means it's going to rain in the afternoon. And that was about the case. I was there for exactly 30 days before I saw the sun. We were chapping on some street, and the sun came out, and I was like, Dustin, we got to go over there. I need to get in the sun. And so we walked over to that little hill where the sun was shining. We started tracking over there, just hitting doors because the sun was out. It's just such a culture shock coming out of Arizona, but good times.
That's funny. I love it.
Yeah. Dustin was good for me. I was super shy guy. Mission was good for helping that for sure, but I didn't, just the way it worked out, I didn't have to give a farewell because we had general conference and then fast Sunday, and then I was gone there and never had to give a farewell. And so I didn't, I struggled talking to people. And so Elder Dustin was good for trying to carve a little bit of that out of me and make me a little more outgoing. I don't know where I'd have been without Mission. I'd probably be in a hermit in a hole somewhere. But yeah, good times. Speaking of Elder Dustin, we had a dartboard there in the flat, which we should have never had because we put holes all over the wall that we had to try to patch all the time before inspections. But at dartboard, it decided everything, like from who's doing dishes to, we always left on time, but like we'd play darts to see if we need to leave 5 minutes early or 10 minutes early or just on time. Like we always played darts. One day we'd come in and we were playing darts to decide who was going to do the dishes. Just a quick, like 1 or 2 throws, highest score type thing, or 3 throws maybe, because I think we had 3 darts each. I can't remember. I was like, hey, what are you going to do? He was sitting in the chair. If I throw this dart and stick it right next to your head, he's like, I think I'll stab you with the darts I have. And so I launched it. Then I went and locked myself in the bathroom, crawled out the window, and I was going to run around the house. And he came out the front door, and he was just winging darts. He stuck one in my leg and one in my butt. I was like,
oh
darts.
Oh my gosh.
That's what I get, though. He did exactly what he said he would. But yeah, good families there. Had a lot of fun. I can't, I think Rand's is the name that come to mind, Donaghy's, Watts, Linda. I can't remember who the bishop was. It was just a neat place to start a mission at.
Yeah. Great area.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of fun. Elder McPhee, I was only with him for 6 weeks, and he was good to tell me, oh, Dustin, I think carried you a little too much. You need to do a little more on your own, because Dustin just did everything. He was my trainer and super outgoing guy. And Elder McPhee's like, no, you're making the phone calls. And he made me step out a little more. So it was good. I learned a lot there. Had a lot of fun, a lot of good memories. A lot of good memories of that area. And then I guess from Aberdeen, I went, and Elder McPhee, I should look him up. He was from Idaho. I can't remember where, but he's somewhere up here, or used to be. From there, I went to Aberdeen, and I think one of you two were in Aberdeen, right?
I was.
You were exact as well. Yep.
So yeah, started out with Elder Fleming there. He was from California. We were just together 6 weeks, but we had a lot of fun. I remember we were walking by a McDonald's one day, and there was a guy sitting in there by himself eating a hamburger or whatever he was eating. He's like, because I always teased him about the only reason he came out was to get girls, and he's like, you see that guy in there? It's like, yeah. It's like, he's the reason I came on a mission. It's like, what do you mean? It's like, I don't want to end up single, and I know girls aren't going to date me unless I went on a mission. So here I am doing my duty so I can get a pretty wife. He was just a lot of fun. I enjoyed him, and we lived at that time. We started out in an apartment. I don't remember where it was, but it was a newer apartment. Right, there was the ocean. There was a huge cemetery, and then that apartment right next to the cemetery. And then they split us up there, and we moved in with some elders that were in town. It's like a 4th or 5th story apartment right off the main street. Was it Union Street? Was that the main street or King Street?
It was Street Union.
So we were right off Union Street, like way up in the air. And so every weekend, on every weekend, you'd hear all the parties going on and the people. And but it was a good location because you were right next to the high street. You come out and start GQing in the mornings. You were right there. So we moved in there, and there was 4 elders there as well. I can't remember. It was sometime after that they started switching to just 2 missionaries per flat because all the shenanigans had happened. But had a lot I never had chicken pox growing up, so I got chicken pox while I was there, and that wipes you out when you're 20 years old. I found out. It was horrible. I was head to toe. I mean, my hair all the way down to my toes. It was everywhere. It was awful. So I got locked.
Wait. Where did you get chicken pox from? Like one of the local kids had it and shared it with you, or what?
I don't know. I felt like I got hit by a bus, and I started getting like spots on my head, and I went into the whatever, the I don't even remember what they called the doctors there, but anyway, I went into
the
one
infirmary.
Of those places. Yeah, there you go. And he's like, "You've got chicken pox." I'm like, "I thought that was for kids." He's like, "No, you got it. You need to just go in and be by yourself for a while." So I called mission home, told them I had chicken pox, and so the 3 other missionaries, they rotated. One would stay there with me while the other 2 went out. That went on for about a week until it was awful. And
wow,
yeah, I missed one of the things I was looking forward to. They had a Masonic temple there that they were going to let tours happen. I remember this because I was looking forward to going to this tour of this Masonic temple, and then I got chicken pox and didn't even get to go. All the other missionaries went without me.
Man.
Yeah. What else happened there? So and I know somebody mentioned it before, and I don't know if it was that way. There was an older single sister that was in the zone leaders area that used to feed, like she'd make you weigh in and weigh out. Did that happen when you were there? Is she still doing that?
I don't know if it was.
We've heard that story though.
The way in, way out. I don't know that I experienced that.
Well, he's Elder Werner at the time, he was mentioned because he'd already been to Scotland in bagpiping competitions, but he was the zone leader when I was there, and so they took us they took us there, and I used to think I could eat a lot, but that lady was impressive, the amount of food she could cook. And so we weighed in and wrote down our weights, and then she just kept bringing food and food and food. And I thought we were done, and then dessert came out, and it was lemon meringue pie and ice cream. And she like cut the pie in quarters and cut a tub of ice cream in quarters. And I'm trying to eat this, and I'm like, I'm gonna throw up. Like, I was feeling ill, and I excused myself and went to the bathroom, and I mean, just all, and I was so embarrassed because I'm still this shy guy, and I'm just in there just puking, and the lemon meringue's coming out just as cold as it went down. And so then I like try to get the sweat off my forehead, and I flush the toilet, and meringue goes down, then it just comes right back up. And it's like, what do I do? And so I flushed the toilet like 5 times trying to get the meringue to go away. And I come out, and she's like, are you okay? I'm like, yes, I'm fine. Let me go finish my dinner. And then I weigh out, and I weighed like half a pound more than when I weighed in. She's like, well, you didn't gain very much. I was like, I don't know what happened. I'm sorry. Yeah, craziness. So the next
the
time
8 pounds of food I ate went down your toilet.
Oh, it was awful.
Oh,
but good. Yeah, Aberdeen was a lot of fun. After Elder Fleming left, Elder Dilge came. Devron Dilge from Washington, as I recall. I think that's right. But yeah, we had a lot of fun. Good ward there as well. And I'm terrible with names. I can't remember our ward mission leader. I remember he worked as the guy that prepares bodies for burial anyway. Can't think what, like a mortician. Yeah. And so he had some crazy stories. But yeah, some neat families. Some of the coolest families I met were there. I remember we covered Cove Bay, and we were teaching a lady out there. Her and her husband, they were going through a divorce at the time, but we were teaching both of them. But she was definitely more interested than he was, and just always the spirit was so strong. And she was coming to church, and something had happened in Relief Society where she quit coming, but she still would let us keep coming. I always wonder whatever happened to her, because she had a testimony. She knew the gospel was true, but she just had some things she was trying to get over. So hopefully the missionaries after I left had some more success with her. I remember one night she was out at Cove Bay, which was a ways out of town, and we missed the last bus. We were teaching. We were running up to the Elder Dilge and I running up to the bus stop just as the bus was pulling away. And so then it was in the evening, and we ran all the way back to town, which I don't remember how far it was, but we were super late getting in. And I felt bad for him. He wore glasses, and his glasses kept fogging up. And so he'd have to stop because he couldn't see without them. Wipe his glasses off. Yeah, we got in. Everybody's like, where have you been? And we're all out of breath. And the zone leaders are calling every 5 minutes. And yeah, good times. It's, yeah, Aberdeen's the only place that I've ever been high in my life. We got in just chapping, got into these 2 guys' apartment, and I should have known what was going on, but I didn't quite have everything figured out. And I knew they were drunk. I could tell that once we started talking to them, because we'd be talking, and then all of a sudden they'd just look at each other and say something and get mad, and they'd be rolling around punching each other on the floor. We're like, what in the end? And we didn't leave because it was too funny to watch. And so we were there for like an hour, and then I left. I was like, Elder, something isn't right. He's like, we're high. Like, we can't be high. We're missionaries. It was, yeah. No, I don't know what the craze is. I wasn't a fan of it. But
oh my gosh.
Yeah, crazy things happen when you're a missionary. But they were so funny to watch. They'd just be rolling around on the floor, just punching each other, and then they'd sit back up. Okay, elders, go ahead. We're ready now. It's like, what is happening? We were probably a full hour. Yeah, it's good times. You run into the craziest things as a missionary. It's just it's just amazing. It's just beautiful country over around Aberdeen. On the P days, we'd go to like the different castles. I can't even remember, Slains Castle, the Nodder, all those different castles around that area. A lot of history, just super, super neat area.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I guess
remember how long you were with Elder Dilge?
So I think I was at Elder Dilge for 3 months, as I remember, right? So I think I was in Aberdeen about 4.5 months.
Okay.
Yeah, 2 apartments or 2 flats. Yeah, we had and ours was huge. Like you could have fit a pile in there. So whenever there was zone meeting or anything like that, tri-zone meetings or whatever they're called, when the mission president would come up, everybody would stay at our apartment. So you'd have like 15 missionaries, 16 missionaries, whatever it was, just sacked out everywhere, laying on. We didn't have enough beds, but the couches and the floor and stairs, there was just people everywhere. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. Somebody had mentioned so they mentioned the story about the missionary breaking they were wrestling and they broke the sink, which caused flooding all down through the lower floors of the building. I think Elder Bright maybe mentioned that. That was Elder Fleming, right? My companion, Elder Fleming. He was a big dude. I could see him wrestling an equally big dude and breaking a lot of things. But yeah, I know why they went to. I was part of plenty of shenanigans that definitely necessitated going to 2 personal flats. So I get it. But we never flooded anything when I was there. He wasn't my companion when this happened. This was before we were companions, but he had told me the story of how President Clyde chewed him out. And President Clyde was an intimidating guy.
Too funny.
Yeah, good times. So after Aberdeen, I went to Hamilton. Either of you guys in Hamilton? Really?
I served in Hamilton as well. Yeah.
Nice. That's awesome. Was there Rona? You remember Rona, single sister?
I don't know that I ever met Rona. That's not a name that's familiar to me.
How about Maureen Connor? She's one of the sweetest women I ever met in my life. No?
Maybe if I saw her, but I was only there for 6 weeks and I didn't get a whole lay of the land. There was a handful of people that I spent a decent amount of time with, but those are not names that ring a bell.
Gotcha. Yeah, she Sister Connor. Yeah, crazy story with her. Her husband was an alcoholic. She was she was doing our laundry when I came into the area, because our washing machine dryer system was all broke anyway. A carpet was ripped out, and so she was doing our laundry because she was one of the endowed members there. And anyway, she's just a super sweet lady, but her husband was alcoholic. She called us one day, asked us if we'd come over and just be with her because her husband was crazy. He was cutting himself, and ended up trying to burn their house down, set their house on fire. Ended up in jail. Yeah, just crazy, but just the sweetest lady. She came over to the States not long after I was home. She was staying with the family of a former missionary, and I stopped in and visited with her. Just super sweet lady. But looking through my journal, I brought up Rona because I had to look for her name because I want to use her in one of our sacrament meeting talks sometime, because she was so funny. But they put her in charge. She was very strong personality, and they put her leading the music. And one of the Sundays I was there, she started up there leading, and people weren't singing to her liking. So right there in sacrament meeting, she's like, "Stop! Stop!" She yelled to the organist, "Stop playing! All you people, you're singing terrible today. You need to start singing better. We're going to start again, and I want more people singing." I mean, this is right in sacrament. This stuff you never see. And that was her. So she started again. Of course, everybody sang a little louder because they didn't want to get yelled at again. Yeah, it was funny. yeah, stuff you don't see very often. But yeah, and I've got to give a shout out to Elder Christiansen. He's been brought up a few different times as the missionary that pulled a runner, ran off. I was his companion when all that happened. I heard that from Elder Bright, who was his companion after, and whoever his companion was before. I can't remember his name before I got in there. I never served around him, just replaced him there. But Elder Christiansen, he struggled like I think it was Elder Bright. One of them mentioned that he got called to the Czech Republic and then got sent to Boston because he couldn't get a visa. Then they resent him to Scotland, and he was definitely struggling when I was there with him. But he had a good heart, and he finished his mission. And it's kind of funny, in Arizona, my temple district was Las Vegas, and that's where he was from. And I was over at the temple after I was home, just randomly one day, and I heard him announce the party for something to do with the party for the Christiansen wedding. And I was like, I wonder if that's him. So I went over there, and sure enough, he was getting married that day there in the Las Vegas temple. I was able to say hi, give him a hug, and so the story turned out well. It'd be good to get him on here someday. That's the last time I saw him. You know, that was before I was married, so it's 20 plus years ago. Just to get his side of the story, because it would be a good perspective to have. But yeah, he was a good missionary. I was just there with him for that first 6 weeks. But he had a good testimony. Good missionary. And then after Elder Christiansen, I had Elder Reed. He was also from Arizona, down in the valley somewhere. And I can't remember if I was there for 4.5 months or just 3 months. I think 4.5. I think I had Elder Reed for 2 transfers, but I could be wrong. But yeah, we were there over Christmas. He was really good with the guitar, and I remember for the Christmas party they wanted the missionaries to do something, so we did. Grandma got run over by was it Grandma? I think we changed it to the elder got ran over by a reindeer, and he played and sang. And every time, I can't remember who the elder was that I ran over, but every time he would start singing that, I would come just plow this poor elder over on the stand, and everybody would laugh. And then and the elder got ran over by plow him this way, and the elder got ran plow him the other way. It was good times.
I love it.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun there. Yeah, we did a lot of work. I think the main work we did there was with part member and less active families. There was a little short lady. I don't remember her last name. I think her first name was May. She was trying to quit smoking. She didn't want to come to church because she smelled like smoke all the time, and she didn't want us to know she was smoking. And so we would sneak over to her house and peek through the window. And then one of us would knock on the door, and we'd run to the window, and you'd see her hiding her ashtrays and her cigarettes and spraying air freshener before she would come to the door. And then she would answer. And she was only like, I don't know, 4.5 feet tall, tiny little old lady. And she'd answer the door. I was like, May, what happened? What takes so long? Oh, I was like, no, we watched you through the window. You were hiding all your ashtrays and cigarettes. She'd be so embarrassed, but good times. Yeah. Good times there. All good memories of that area. We had, I think I was there when we had one of the 70. Elder Hillam, I believe, came. He was in Glasgow. They were making the rounds. It was like tri-zone conferences or whatever. And he came and spoke to us, which was pretty cool. It was neat, right? You had in the MTC, we had I don't remember who now. Somebody from the 70 came and speak, and they I remember I wrote it down. Wrote the time and everything because it had such a big impact. But he read about in 3rd Nephi where the Lord had told him, "Hey, I can trust you to do whatever," and because of you do these things, listed like 4 things. You teach with unwariness. You don't fear the people. He's like, I can trust you to give whatever. And he gave him the sealing power. And the time at the MTC, the 70 that was there, he's like, I'll promise you, I will give you this promise right now from the Lord that if you guys will serve like Nephi did. And he listed those 4 things. I'd have to grab my scriptures to read it to you. He's like, I will promise you that your bread basket will never be empty. I'm not going to say you're going to be rich, but you will always have enough. The Lord will take care of you the rest of your life. And man, that I could say that promise is true. We've like all young married couples or single people, we had hard times, but we always had enough, and I always held on to that promise from him. It was a pretty special thing. And then Elder Kerr came at some point. I don't remember the timing on if he came before Elder Hillam or not, but it's just just like I'm not I don't know, like a person that runs up and gets autographs off movie star, right? That stuff I never cared. But seeing some of these these 70s and these people that serve the Lord. It was pretty humbling to me. And I remember Elder Hillam specifically grabbed one of the sister missionaries, and it was very similar to the talking conference here, a handful of conferences go about pillars of light and rays of light. But he grabbed her hair. He grabbed just one strand of hair and he pulled it up, and he talked about when we're trying to make a connection to the Lord, we need more than this, in our obedience. And I don't remember exactly what he said, but he yanked this hair out of this poor sister's head. And then he kept grabbing her hair, and then he gave it a tug. He's like, I can't yank it anymore. And then he grabbed all of her hair, and he's like, if we have that kind of connection, that pillar, more than just the small rays, he's like, if we make that pillar connection, then the Lord's really going to be able to work with us. And just some of those messages they give, this is about 25, 26 to 23, 24 to 26 years ago, somewhere in there. And that stuff still sticks with you. And President Monson and Elder Worthland came over and spoke at a whole mission conference. And it's just neat that's your testimony really gets strengthened when you're out serving, and then you see these people and they come and just bear their testimony, and it's just an amazing experience. But yeah, sorry, I kind of digressed there, but just super humbling. And I remember one of the things I remember President Monson saying, and I used to tell this to Celeste, my wife, when she was prepared to go on a mission, he says, in my experience, the sisters are always just a shade better than the elders. And being an elder, I completely understood it, because they were usually doing good things and we were doing stupid things. But yeah, it was weird what you remember, but yeah, neat time. So after Hamilton, I went to Boness. Did you go to Boness?
I did not go to Boness.
Okay.
I don't think Boness was an area in the mission at that point in time.
No.
Wow. Okay.
I mean, so from what we've learned in our podcasting, the number of missionaries at your time was probably like what, 200, 300, 400, somewhere in there.
Ooh,
I can't remember how many there were, but it was significantly more than how many we had in the mission when we were there.
Gotcha. Well, another just fun fact, I don't know if it's like this for everybody or just I've got a buddy whose daughter just went to Scotland maybe 2 months ago. I don't remember, but she didn't even get to go to the Preston MTC. She did Provo and then straight to Scotland, because Preston's so full of British and European missionaries that they weren't hosting American missionaries there anymore, which is kind of crazy. So yeah, a lot of changes since I'm assuming both of you went through Preston.
Yeah,
we did.
Yeah, so a lot of changes, and then of course it's Scotland Ireland mission now. And I've heard from you guys there's a new mission home, which is a total bummer, because that place was awesome. It'd be hard to beat. Hopefully their new mission home's cool, but it'd be hard to beat the one we had.
That hasn't happened yet, but it is something that they're saying will happen at some point. I was there last year, and the mission home was still on Spylaw Road, right next to the Edinburgh Stake Center. And Jack has a relative who just barely entered the mission, and they did like an entry to the mission video in the same spot. So I was like, all right,
perfect.
It's not new yet. I was there in August last year, so it's been over a year since I heard that rumor, and it hasn't changed yet. But there are pieces moving right now as far as trying to figure out where the temple is going to be, which I haven't even heard anything about that yet. And then the plan, I guess, is to have the mission home and the mission president somewhere in that area for the sake of proximity. So we are still waiting with bated breath to figure out what that looks like.
Yeah, about every, I don't know, month or two, I get on and I search for the temple, just to, like, they haven't even put out a diagram what it's supposed to look like yet. It's
right. It's a secret.
Yeah. Well, it just speaks to Elder Oak saying, all right, we're going to pause on announcing President Oak, announcing more temples. We got to catch up with the ones we've already got announced. So makes sense.
Right.
But yeah, I went from Hamilton to Boness, which covered, there was 3 towns, as I remember, like the area was called Bowness, but we lived in Grangemouth. And then I want to say we covered Linlithgow as well.
Mm-hmm.
I was there for, I think, just 3 months. I only had one companion there, Coke. I can't remember where he was from. I remember he was completely obsessed with Disneyland. He wanted to be an architect, and he had fun facts that were never ending about Disneyland, for why the trash cans were so many feet apart. I mean, he knew everything. It was amazing. But just a good kid. I say kid. I don't know why I said kid, but just a good soul. I remember I was looking through my journal today, trying to figure out some stuff about that area. And Sister McFeet's, I referenced how good her food was several times, and I cannot picture her. So if she ever listens to this, I apologize. Apparently her food was amazing. But I can't remember at all who she was. I can't even picture who she might have been, which is wild. I remember our ward mission leader, his name was Shug. He was a convert. I remember him talking about the missionaries. He thought for a while that we got issued missionary names because the missionaries that taught him were Elder Lord and Elder Bodley. And he's like, those are just had to be issued. Like, that's not real names. And so he was a lot of fun. He was a fairly new convert at the time, but he was the ward mission leader. But yeah, we're there. Struggled in Bowness. We had nobody to teach for ages, and then we finally started building up a teaching pool. And then I was off and away to Ayr, which was my last area. And so Elder Shumway, he wasn't my companion, but he was in Ayr. He's one of the people that you've had on your podcast. I was on a fire down near Moab this summer, and just by happenstance kind of started asking around to the sheriff and some of the people I was talking to if they knew him, because I knew he'd grown up in Blanding. And they're like, yeah, he lives in Moab now. So I was able to meet up with him while I was down there, and he told me about the podcast, and that's how all this started. But
That's awesome.
Yeah, pretty cool. That's the first time I'd seen him since I left Scotland. But when I got there, Elder Eckworth was my companion. He was from England. And then my last companion was Elder Jeffrey G. Brown, as Elder Shumway talked about. He seemed like he should grow up to be an apostle with a name like Elder Jeffrey G. Brown, but he was my last companion. And Ayr was just, man, it was amazing. I had so much fun there. It was, like I mentioned, I came home at the end of September, so I spent the whole summer there. I was there for 6 months, as I recall. But just so much good stuff happened there compared to like the rest of my mission. A lot of it was just to spend a lot of time chapping on doors and having doors shut, and not having the people to teach. And then Ayr was just amazing, just teaching so many different people, and the ward was so involved in the missionary work, and just so many blessings happened there. I could have stayed there forever. It was just an amazing place. And that summer it didn't rain. It didn't rain every single day like the rest of the time I'd been in Scotland. So it was so cool. We had so many good experiences there. I remember Chernobyl in Russia, where they had the nuclear plant explode and poison everybody with radiation. So when I was there, one of the families in the ward had got part of this group that was bringing children out of Chernobyl, because if they got them out of the country for, as I recall, if they were out for a month, they would add like 2 years to their life. And so they were just touring them all around Britain, and this family was to host them for a day. And so they wanted us to come over and help entertain these kids. And so we agreed to it. The four of us, we went down there. And at this point we were only two people to a flat, but they took the district. The four of us, we went down there. We were all in the same ward, and they didn't speak a lick of English. We didn't speak obviously any Russian, and we just spent the whole day playing with these kids. It was so much fun. It was just one of the highlights of my life, just because you just felt so bad for them, for the situation they were in. I don't know if I'm sure they were old enough to comprehend it a little bit. They were probably from like 7 to 12. But just throwing them on your shoulders, running around, playing tag, all these little kid games. Spend a whole day doing that with them, and they get loaded in their bus and they go on to wherever the next place was going to be, but just super neat experience with them. And then the apartment that we lived in, there was a ton of kids lived there, a couple kids from the ward, a couple girls from the ward, and then just all these other kids, and they loved us. It was a lot of fun. Like if you go home for dinner or anything and you'd open the window, they'd be trying to climb in the windows because we were ground floor flat, and it was like, get out. And so on P days, we'd have barbecues with them and their parents. I mean, it was just a good way to interact with all these folks. You'd meet their parents through them. But we had a good time there. One of them, somebody had, because we were right across from the church. Either of you in there at all ever?
Nope.
No. So missionaries, our apartment that I was in, we were right across the street from the church. We came out one morning and somebody had spray painted something on the side of the church. I don't remember what, but I told all these kids, I got them all together. It's like, hey, find out who did that for them, for us, and tell them I'm going to kick their rear, right? I'm a stupid missionary. That I shouldn't be saying that, but I'm 6'3", like I'm bigger than the average Scot, right? And so they went, and never had to worry about it again. It was, they took care of it for me. So, yeah, it was cool area there. Got, I did more teaching, which I didn't get to do a ton of teaching. I mean, you guys are aware, like being in Scotland, my wife taught more discussions in a month than I taught in any month of her mission than I taught the whole time I was there, being in the Dominican Republic. But the majority of teaching that I did was in that area. So it was just so neat to feel the spirit, and had members that were bringing their friends. And it was just a really good environment to be able to finish out the mission in. Umberto, can't remember his last name. He was our work mission leader. He owned a bakery.
Gilardi.
Yeah, that was him. Super strong testimony, just wanting to do good things. It's just a great ward to be a part of. I can't remember the bishop's name. He was a younger bishop, but just he had some less actives we'd teach at his house, and it was just a neat place to be. I got introduced to Pooh Bear ice cream. If you ever go there, I don't remember where it is or how to get there, but there's an ice cream place that sells Pooh Bear ice cream. Oh, it was amazing.
Wait a minute. Pooh Bear?
Pooh Bear, like Winnie the Pooh. Pooh Bear ice cream, because they had these dried honeycomb pieces in it. It was like Italian ice cream. It was so good.
Interesting.
Yeah. Neat. And I need to back up and saying I was going to beat up whoever was tagging the church, because when I was in Aberdeen, some kids got me in the middle of the night, and I was Aberdeen or Hamilton, not in the middle of the night. We were walking in the dark, and they walloped me with a board right across the face and broke my nose. So yeah, I couldn't even stand up. I couldn't stand up to the Ned. So yeah, they could have probably taken me, but the threat was there, and it worked good enough, I guess. The tagging quit, but yeah, so much fun. Scotland, yeah, a lot of good memories. Someday I'm going to take Celeste and we're going to go back. I've never been back, but just an amazing country, amazing people. Nothing but good memories. I thoroughly enjoyed being able to serve there. It changed the whole trajectory of my life, from just the shyness to get me out of that, but the opportunity to study the gospel and just have the testimony just burned into my heart. Really enjoyed there. And you had Sister Wallace on here. She was actually my last exchanges as a missionary. That's what I tell people. We left from the same zone to go to Edinburgh at the same time. So when we were traveling to go home, we rode on the train together back to Edinburgh. So she was my last companion in Scotland. But yeah,
nice.
Yeah, good times. I appreciate you guys putting all this together to be able to just reconnect with the people that I did. And I check whenever a new episode drops. I look, oh, I don't know that person. I probably should listen to them. They're probably great stories, but it's been super fun to go back and listen to all the people that I knew or knew of, and they talk about people that I knew. And yeah, was a neat country. It's got a lot of my heart still left over there.
Yeah, we feel the same in regards to that piece of our heart still left in Scotland. That's exactly true. Now, the Wilkinsons came in probably about halfway through your mission. You mentioned your experience with the Clydes. Do you have any fun memories or moments with the Wilkinsons that you recall that stand out?
Yeah. I think I was 11 months out. I think they came. I think the switch happened when I was in Aberdeen, but I was about 11 months out, so I was pretty much a pretty close split between the two of them. And just one more President Clyde story. He right before they were going home, we had a mission conference down in Edinburgh, and he told everybody they could wear their kilts, and he wanted to get pictures. So each zone would go sit with him and Sister Clyde, and we would get these pictures, and they were very, very proper. Like when Sister Clyde, when we'd have conferences, she would teach us how to eat right and how to sew and how to be good missionaries. And we had to carry a picture of a missionary's haircut so we could show when we went into the barber, this is the haircut we need to have, right? They're very prim and proper. And so when we got all these pictures developed, because everybody was going to get a copy, every missionary was going to get a copy of these mission pictures, one zone at a time. And the way President Clyde sat, he was right there center front and had his kilt on, but you could see his garment bottoms through his kilt because he in every picture. And Sister Clyde was mortified, but she had to give these pictures to everybody because there was no redos on this. just too funny. But I loved President Clyde. He was definitely more of the hammer, which, like I mentioned earlier, talking to missionaries have been out, he had to run his own construction business, and he was a very letter of the law kind of person. And when President and Sister Wilkinson came up, it was very, very different. They were more focused on love, and I'll always remember him talking in the different zone conferences or mission conferences. And he said, he always say, I would submit to you that the only thing we really have to offer to the Lord is our agency, right? Our choices, the things we do. He's given us everything else. Everything comes from him. But the thing that we can give back is our agency. And I'll never forget that. I've told that to my kids a million times. But yeah, he definitely brought a lot of love in. He just didn't want to disappoint him. He didn't want to do anything to waste his time with you. And I remember having that exit interview, he's like, I've already called ahead to your stake president. You're lined up to do this talk in this fireside. And he's like, none of my missionaries are going to go home and go inactive, because he gave me some stat about how many missionaries at the time were going home and quit going to church. And he's like, that's not going to happen to any of mine. And so he did. He had me lined up. I was speaking with the High Council, and I was only home 3 months. I think I gave 6 or 7 talks and a couple firesides, and he had that all lined up through the stake president that none of his missionaries were going to go inactive. But he asked, when people ask you about your mission, what are you going to tell them? And it's the best experience I've had in my life, right? It's to that point in my life, that was by far the greatest thing I'd ever been a part of. And it's still up there. Obviously now I'm married and I got kids, and there's other things that I would put above that. But as far as that point in my life, that was absolutely the best thing that I'd ever been a part of. And President Wilkinson, he had a big part in that, because he helped me to transition from the letter of the law to more of the spirit of the law, trying to take care of the people and not just always hitting the numbers and the stats. And that spoke to me. I love the Clydes. And that you tell me what to do and I'll do it, right? That was always my mindset. And so they would say, here, you got X amount of hours of this and X amount of hours of that. And I would try to do it. But then Wilkinson's had a very different mindset, and just being able to feel that love and that encouragement. And I mean, I wanted the guy to marry us, right? He had a big impact on my life for sure. While I was there, him and Sister Wilkinson, you could feel that they really loved you and cared about you and wanted you to do good. they wanted you to want to do good, not just do good because you're going to get on the little plane and go home.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I love that.
Fun.
I love great memories, and like you said, the impacts that they have on us now, a mission and some change since that moment in our lives that continues to resonate through our minds and our hearts. So thank you for sharing that, Clay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, you've mentioned a great deal of your companions and other missionaries. There's a handful of the other missionaries we haven't talked to, and I don't think we've had any of your companions on here. So what we do love is referrals. If you're in contact with any of them, please send them our way. And anyone who's listening to this that Clay hasn't reached out to yet, you can reach out to us by coming to our website, 51spylaw.com. It's pretty simple to remember, or email us at SEMpodcast@51spylaw.com. Fill out a contact sheet like Clay did, and we can figure out a time to have a conversation and reminisce on memories of Scotland together. So, Clay, again, we really appreciate your time. We are grateful for your memories that you like you said, you kind of did as best you could to get those things put together for us today, and we really appreciate your efforts in doing so, because those memories, they last, and now we have this recorded history that you can share with anybody about your experience as a missionary in Scotland. So thank you for coming on with us today.
No, thanks for having me. You guys you're doing a great work. I know it impacts probably a small group of people compared to what most people are trying to hit with the podcast. You know, your audience is definitely a little more pointed, but man, it did my heart so much good to listen to the folks that had been on, that served in the time period I did, and listen to their podcast. It was a true joy to hear. So I'm terrible. I'm not in contact with anybody hardly, but I do have some people that are on Facebook that I served with. I'll hit them up and tell them about you guys.
Yeah. When we go live with this, just share it, tag everybody. I mean, they have to see it, right? That's the magic of Facebook, is it will be seen by those that you're tagging. But Clay, just to end, we want to express to you how much we love you. Thank you for being a brother in Scotland, and for, again, sharing so many memories. I had many wonderful memories come through my mind of the places that we served in common. We were there at different eras of the mission, but still those places ring true in my heart as well as yours and many others that are listening. So again, we love you and are grateful for you coming on today.
Absolutely. Thank you guys. You're doing great with this. Appreciate it.
Cheers, Clay. Well, we'll bid you a cheerio, and we'll talk more soon. All right.
All right. We'll see you. Thank you.
All right. Bye.